Get focused, not just busy every day. Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a story. A few years ago, I was working with a team at a fast, growing startup. They were bright, energetic, and always in motion. If you walked into their office, you'd see whiteboards covered in notes, Slack messages pinging constantly, people bouncing between meetings. They were busy, but something didn't feel right. We've been sold a lie. A subtle one, a dangerous one, the kind that sneaks into our lives disguised as ambition. The lie is this: if you're always busy, you're doing something right. We reward busyness like it's a virtue. We wear it like a badge of honor. When someone asks, "How are you?" we say, "Busy," as if it's a mark of value, a sign that our time is in demand, that we matter. But let me ask you something. Have you ever been incredibly busy all day and still felt like you got nothing meaningful done? That's the trap. Being busy is not the same as being productive. Busyness is motion, productivity is progress, and they are not always the same. A hamster runs furiously on a wheel, but it doesn't go anywhere. It's exhausted by the end of the day, but it hasn't moved an inch forward. That's what many of us do. We fill our calendars with back-to-back meetings, we answer every email within minutes, we juggle 10 projects at once, and we tell ourselves we're accomplishing something. But most of the time, we're just spinning the wheel faster. What we're missing is focus. Productivity begins when we step back and ask, what actually matters? What is the impact of the work I'm doing? What are the results I'm moving toward? It's easy to be busy. It's easy to look busy. But doing 100 small, disconnected things with no alignment to a larger goal is not achievement. It's distraction. Here's the core issue. We confuse movement with progress because movement makes us feel important. When our day is packed, when we're racing from one task to another, we feel needed. We feel like we're contributing. But contribution isn't about being in motion, it's about direction. Progress demands clarity. If you don't know what you're aiming for, you'll do everything and achieve very little. If you're not anchored to a clear why, you'll be pulled in 1,000 directions by noise, urgency, and pressure. Let me say it plainly, you can be the busiest person in the room and still be the least effective. So what's the alternative? Focused action. Imagine someone chopping down a tree with a dull axe. They swing and swing all day, sweating, straining, exhausting themselves. That's busyness. Now imagine someone who sharpens the axe first. It might take an hour of stillness and preparation, but when they start chopping, the tree falls faster. That's productivity. Sharpening your axe means aligning your actions to your priorities. It means creating space to think. It means saying no to the things that look urgent but don't really matter. It means having the courage to do fewer things better. In a culture obsessed with hustle, it's countercultural to pause and prioritize. But that's where real leadership lives. That's where growth begins. When we shift from reacting to everything to focusing on the right things, we stop just being busy, and we start being effective. So if you've been measuring your value by how packed your schedule is, it's time to stop. Start measuring it by how much progress you're actually making toward your purpose. In today's world, we are constantly pushed to chase more goals, more projects, more recognition, more metrics, more of everything. And when we don't have a clear sense of purpose, it's easy to say yes to all of it. We bounce from one opportunity to the next, thinking that movement equals momentum. We sign up for every new idea, every offer, every challenge, thinking it will somehow add up to success. But here's the truth. When you're not clear on your purpose, you end up chasing everything and accomplishing nothing. You spread your energy across so many things that none of them go deep enough to matter. You look busy, you feel exhausted, but you have little to show for it. That's not growth, that's dilution. Purpose is your anchor, it's your compass. It gives direction to your decisions and weight to your actions. Without it, we're not choosing our path, we're reacting to whatever comes our way. And when we live reactively, we're always in a rush, but never truly moving forward. Have you ever met someone who is incredibly talented, hardworking, full of potential, but constantly burned out and unsure of where they're going? More often than not, it's not because they're lazy or unmotivated. It's because they lack clarity. They're in motion, but there's no deeper why guiding that motion. Clarity of purpose creates clarity of priority. When you know your why, you know what deserves your time. You know what you should say yes to, and just as importantly, what you must say no to. Without that clarity, everything feels equally important. Every task, every email, every request, every shiny new idea demands your attention. And if you try to chase them all, you end up fragmented, mentally, emotionally, even spiritually. The irony is, in trying to do more, you end up being less. It's like trying to run in 5 directions at once. You'll move a lot, but you won't get far. But if you pick one direction, guided by purpose, you might move slower. But every step will count. Every step will bring you closer to something real. Purpose brings peace to your decisions. It simplifies your day. It helps you see what matters and what doesn't. It takes the pressure off of doing everything and gives you permission to focus on the things that actually align with who you are and what you're here to build. Let me be clear, this doesn't mean you won't face distractions. You will. Opportunities will come that look attractive but have nothing to do with your purpose. People will ask for your time. The world will keep pushing you to do more. But when you know your purpose, you'll recognize what's for you and what's just noise. And here's something powerful. Purpose doesn't come from outside. It's not handed to you in a job title or a mission statement. It comes from within. It's something you discover, not something you inherit. And once you discover it, everything changes. You begin to move with intention. You stop chasing applause and start chasing alignment. You don't just wake up busy, you wake up clear. You don't just do work, you do meaningful work. So if you find yourself chasing everything, pause, step back, ask yourself, what am I really here to do? What impact do I want to have? What matters most to me truly? We often mistake productivity for volume. We think that doing more means we're doing better. We equate long task lists and packed schedules with success. But let me tell you something most people don't learn until it's too late. Focus is not about doing more, it's about doing what matters. You can spend your entire day being busy and still not move the needle in your life. You can reply to every message, attend every meeting, cross out every task, and still miss the things that truly matter. Focus isn't about cramming as much as possible into every hour. It's about clearing space to give your best energy to what's most important. And that requires something most people avoid: discipline. The discipline to choose, the discipline to prioritize, the discipline to let go of what looks urgent but isn't actually meaningful. You see, the world will constantly offer you things to do. There will always be one more email, one more project, one more thing you could say yes to. But without focus, you become reactive. You're constantly responding, never leading. You let the day run you instead of you running the day. True focus starts with intention. It starts by asking yourself, what actually deserves my time, my mind, my energy? Because not everything that's available is valuable. Not every task deserves your full attention. And just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Doing what matters often means doing less, but doing it better. It means going deep rather than wide. It means investing in the few things that create the biggest impact, instead of spreading yourself thin across dozens of distractions. Let me give you a real-world example. Elite athletes don't train for every sport. They focus on mastering one, because they know excellence comes not from variety, but from concentrated effort. The same principle applies to life, to business, to relationships. If you want to do work that matters, you have to focus on fewer things. Not everything deserves your best. Reserve that for the things aligned with your purpose, your values, your goals. But here's the challenge. Focus isn't easy. It requires saying no. It requires making trade-offs. It might even mean disappointing others, and that's uncomfortable. That's why so many people choose busyness. It gives the illusion of progress without the cost of commitment. But don't fall for the illusion. Busyness feels good in the moment. It gives you short-term satisfaction, but focus gives you long-term impact. Focus creates legacy. Focus builds something that lasts. You'll never look back at your life and say, I wish I had done more random tasks. You'll look back and ask, Did I do the things that mattered? The only way to say yes to that question is to live with focus now. So start each day with clarity. Identify your highest priorities, then give your best energy to those few things and protect that focus, guard it, because the world will constantly try to steal it from you. And remember, it's not how much you do that defines your success. It's how aligned your actions are with what truly matters. In the end, focus isn't about squeezing more in. It's about cutting the right things out. It's not about speed, it's about direction. One of the most powerful things a leader can do is say the word no. And yet, it's one of the hardest words for people to say. We live in a culture that celebrates the yes. We admire the go-getters, the people who seem to be everywhere, doing everything, saying yes to every opportunity, every meeting, every idea. We're taught that saying yes is how we prove our value, how we stay relevant, how we please others, how we avoid conflict. But the truth is, saying yes to everything is not leadership. It's surrender. Real leaders don't say yes to impress. They say no to protect. They say no to distractions, to misalignment, to anything that pulls them away from their vision. They know that every yes is a trade. Every yes costs time, energy, and focus. And if you're not intentional, you'll spend those resources on things that don't move you or your team forward. Saying no is not weakness. It's not rudeness. It's not a lack of ambition. It's clarity. It's strength. It's leadership. Because when you know where you're going, you're willing to walk away from anything that doesn't take you there. Think about the leaders you respect most, the ones who built something lasting. They weren't scattered. They weren't trying to be everything to everyone. They made hard choices. They protected their time, their energy, their people. They had the courage to say no, not out of fear, but out of focus. In fact, one of the most dangerous things you can do as a leader is try to please everyone. The moment you start living for everyone else's approval is the moment you lose sight of your own purpose. You're not here to chase popularity. You're here to pursue vision, and vision requires boundaries. Boundaries aren't walls, they're filters. They help you separate the good from the great, the noise from the signal, the urgent from the important. Without boundaries, your mission gets diluted, your priorities get hijacked, your purpose gets buried under everyone else's agenda. This applies in business, in leadership, and in life. Let's make it practical. You don't need to say no to be difficult. You say no to stay aligned. You say no to the things that might look good in the moment but steal your momentum in the long run. You say no to protect the integrity of what you're building. Because every time you say yes to something unimportant, you're saying no to something essential, whether that's your goals, your health, your team, your family, or your peace of mind. Strong leaders don't just make decisions. They make intentional decisions, and sometimes that means turning down a partnership, declining a meeting, or pushing back on a request, not because they don't care, but because they care deeply about the right things. And here's something many people miss. When you say no with clarity, you gain respect. People might not like it in the moment, but over time they trust you more. They know you mean what you say. They know you're guided by principles, not pressure. That's real influence. That's real leadership. So if you feel overwhelmed, pulled in too many directions, constantly reacting instead of leading, pause and reflect. Where do you need to start saying no? Where have you been saying yes out of guilt, fear, or insecurity? Because the moment you start protecting your vision with a strong, clear no, you begin to lead with purpose. And when you lead with purpose, you make room for the things that truly matter. The future isn't shaped by how much you take on. It's shaped by what you're willing to walk away from. We live in a world obsessed with movement. The faster, the better. The busier, the more successful. We've built a culture that praises motion. How early you start, how late you finish, how many things you can juggle at once. But let me challenge that belief with a simple truth. Fulfillment doesn't come from movement. It comes from meaning. We all know what it feels like to be constantly on the go. You wake up, your mind's already racing. You check your phone before your feet hit the floor. Your to-do list is packed. Your calendar has no space to breathe. You move all day long. Meetings, calls, errands, tasks, emails. And yet, at the end of the day, you feel empty. That's because movement is not the same as progress. And it's definitely not the same as fulfillment. You can spend your whole life running and never feel alive. You can be busy every day and still be deeply disconnected from purpose. Meaning isn't found in the quantity of what you do. It's found in the quality of why you do it. Fulfillment comes when your actions are aligned with your values, when what you do reflects who you are, when you're not just checking boxes, but making a difference. It's that quiet confidence, that internal peace, that comes from knowing your work matters, your presence matters, your life matters, not to the algorithm, not to a spreadsheet, but to something greater than yourself. But we don't get there by accident. We only find meaning when we slow down long enough to ask better questions. Not what do I have to do today, but why am I doing it? Not how much can I get done, but what truly matters today. Fulfillment doesn't live in how much you've accomplished. It lives in how much of your work reflects your heart, your values, your purpose. I've seen people at the top of their industries, wealthy, well-known, constantly in motion, who are still searching for meaning. Because they built lives of movement without taking the time to find alignment. They climbed ladders only to realize they were leaning against the wrong wall. And on the flip side, I've met people with far less fame, less money, fewer credentials, who are deeply fulfilled. Because they wake up every day and do work that matters to them. They raise families, they serve their communities, they pour themselves into something bigger than their own ambition. It's not about how much you have. It's about how connected you are to what you do. And here's the beautiful irony. When you chase meaning first, fulfillment follows. And often, success follows too. But this time, it's the kind that lasts. The kind that feels good and does good. But to find that kind of life, we have to stop worshipping motion. We have to break free from the lie that more equals better. We have to give ourselves permission to go deeper, not just faster. So take a step back and ask yourself, what gives my work meaning? What gives my life meaning? And then begin to build your days around that, not around movement for movement's sake, but around intention, around purpose. Because when your life is grounded in meaning, every small action becomes significant. Every conversation carries weight. Every day feels like it matters. Even the quiet ones, even the hard ones. Motion might keep you occupied, but only meaning will keep you fulfilled. We live in an age where hustle is glorified, where grinding day and night is seen as the ultimate badge of honor, where people wear exhaustion like it's a sign of commitment, and burnout is accepted as part of the journey. Social media is filled with phrases like rise and grind and sleep when you're dead, as if rest and clarity are weaknesses. But here's the truth. The world doesn't need more hustle. It needs more purpose-driven focus. Hustle by itself is not the answer. Working hard isn't bad. In fact, hard work is necessary, but indiscriminate hustle, the kind that has you chasing every opportunity, saying yes to everything, staying busy without staying aligned, that's not noble. That's noise. When you hustle without purpose, you move fast in circles. You put in effort, you burn energy, you stay active, but you don't move forward. It's like running on a treadmill. You're sweating, you're tired, but you haven't gone anywhere. What we need now, more than ever, are people who are focused, not just busy, not just driven, but focused, with purpose. People who know what they stand for, what they're building, and why it matters. People who don't just chase momentum, but create meaning. Because when your focus is anchored in purpose, everything changes. You stop reacting to every opportunity that comes your way. You start choosing the ones that align with your mission. You stop measuring your worth by how much you do, and start measuring it by how much of what you do actually matters. Focus isn't about doing less, it's about doing right. It's about quality over quantity. It's about getting clear on your why so you can be ruthless with your how, and purpose. Purpose is the filter that makes that clarity possible. Without it, hustle will drain you, it will take from you. But when hustle is guided by purpose, it becomes powerful, it becomes intentional, it becomes sustainable. Look around, burnout is everywhere. People are chasing success with no sense of direction. They're achieving goals that don't fulfill them. They're climbing ladders that lead nowhere. Why? Because hustle has become the default, and purpose has become an afterthought. That's backwards. The world doesn't need more people trying to do everything. It needs people who are committed to doing the right things. We don't need more noise. We need more depth. We need more leaders, creators, builders. People who choose depth over speed, values over vanity, vision over volume. Because in the end, it's not about how fast you went. It's about where you ended up. Did your work have impact? Did your life have direction? Did your effort leave a mark? Purpose. Driven focus gives your work weight. It gives your time meaning. It helps you show up, not just to be busy, but to be effective, not just to impress, but to contribute. And here's the best part. When you lead with purpose, people notice. They're drawn to clarity, they trust focus, they follow intentionality, because in a world full of noise, focus cuts through, purpose leads, and that's what changes teams, that's what changes organizations. That's what changes lives. So yes, work hard, but don't just hustle blindly. Hustle with intention, hustle with clarity, hustle with purpose, because what the world really needs isn't more people running faster. It needs more people who know why they're running in the first place.